When I mention the word concussion, what is the first word that you think of? Is that word football? The two seem to go hand in hand nowadays, and that's why it is important that we have coaches who have the highest quality standards and who are well versed in concussion awareness training. Every organization has important steps that every coach should go through. This will begin with a background check. When we move on to some kind of concussion awareness training, which will allow every coach to become familiar with the signs and the symptoms of a concussion, and each organization should have a strict return to play guidelines set in place for every player that has suffered a concussion. The first thing we want to start with is to ensure that all coaches have a thorough background check completed. This will start with a criminal background check, and we'll move on to your child abuse clearance background check. This ensures you are getting individuals with the highest quality and the highest regard for player safety, and not coaches who are just in it for their own glory. The second thing you want to do is have every coach complete a concussion awareness training. There are many different options to go through. One of them would be the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC's Heads Up program. This is a free online tool that is geared towards pretty much anybody, coaches, parents, the athletes themselves, and even the sports officials. This allows everybody to become fully aware of the signs, symptoms, and guidelines to be followed when it comes to concussions. It takes about 30 minutes of your time and comes with a certificate at the end that you hand into your organization to show that you have completed the training. Second one you can go with, and seems to be the most popular nowadays, is USA Football's Heads Up program. Now this is a $25 paid membership that is due annually, but it is a very thorough, very comprehensive website that has much more than even just the Heads Up football, so you really do get the bang for your buck. This is really a website that is geared toward coaches, but there is a players and there is a parents section as well who can also go through this training. It takes about 2 hours of your time, and it has to be done in one sitting, so it is very time consuming, but it is very thorough, and it takes you through proper tackling techniques, how to coach these techniques, how to ensure that players are following the guidelines and doing what you're teaching. As youth coaches, it's the most important time of their lives in their football career. We need to have this good education that we can pass on to them. So as we lay that foundation, they move up through their football career, they have a solid tackling technique, and we can help reduce the amount of concussions at that time. The most important thing are for coaches to be able to recognize the signs and the symptoms of a concussion. We're going to start with the signs of a concussion. And the first one we want to look at is the player dazed? Do they look like they're just standing there and they have no idea what is going on? Do they have a glossy look in their eyes? Do they appear confused? Do they not know the day of the week? Do they not know what their position is? Do they not know where to stand on the field? All questions you should ask yourself. Are they having trouble remembering their assignments? When we say remembering their assignments, do they know which route they're supposed to run? Do they know which player they're supposed to block? All these things should be asked. Has a player lost consciousness for any amount of time? It doesn't matter if it was 1 second, or if it was a minute or 10 minutes. Any amount of time where somebody loses consciousness is too long, and we need to watch for that. Is this player unaware of their surroundings? Do they know they're at the football field? Do they know that the sun is out? Is it cloudy? Do they see the other people standing around? Has their behavior changed? Is somebody who's normally laughing and joking around all of a sudden quiet, reserved? You need to watch for this. That's sometimes a sign that people will overlook, but is very important. Are they having trouble remembering before and after the hit that just happened? Do they know that they were playing a game before? Do they know that they're now on the sidelines being treated? All of these things should be watched for and should be monitored immediately once a big hit has happened. The symptoms of a concussion, you need to watch for these, and these will all present, or sometimes just a few of them will, or just one of them will. Either way, if any of these symptoms do occur, it is best for the player to be transported. The first one is, are they suffering a headache? And this seems to be the one that most people will know about and will recognize immediately. They usually start grabbing the sides of their heads like this, they're squinting their eyes, they're complaining of the pain. It's very obvious. The second one that comes on almost immediately is the nausea and the vomiting. Now, they don't always vomit, but they will almost always be immediately sick in the stomach. It happened last year at practice with us. We had two players that were just running a drill. They hit properly at first. Their shoulder pads hit each other, but for some reason they just kind of smacked and their heads just slapped together. It was an accident. It was what we would deem a football play. Nothing malicious about it. It just happened. They both stood up. They both had a headache. They both had nausea almost immediately, so we knew there was an issue. Is there any dizziness with the player? Are they having trouble balancing? Do they have blurred vision? Are they having trouble seeing anything, looking around, being able to focus on anything? Do they have a light or a noise sensitivity issue? Any sunlight, any noise, is it now bothering them? Is it making their headache worse? Something to watch for. Are they having memory issues? Obviously, that's a big one. If they can't remember their name, if they can't remember the day of the week, if they can't remember where they're at, if they don't remember what sport they're playing at the time, obviously that's a serious issue. It needs to be addressed. Cloudy thoughts. This would be more along the lines of what we used to call having your bell rung. You got hit, you stand up, you're kind of stammering around. You can't form a complete sentence. You're having trouble just saying anything. It happened to me before when I was a youth, so I know firsthand what this is like. So if we see any of those, the player at that time should be transported immediately. A violent hit has occurred. What should we do now? First of all, once they have been checked out on the field by medical staff, they should be removed from play immediately. On the sidelines at that point, the medical staff will do a full diagnosis. Usually there's an EMT staff there, an ambulance is there. A lot of times there's nurses that are there. There are doctors that are present. They go through this immediate checkup. They look for the signs. They look for the symptoms at that point. If the symptoms are present, we go ahead and they are immediately taken to the hospital. The parents go along with them. They are checked out by the doctor, given a thorough examination, and then they are released to the parents. When they go with the parents, they are given both oral and written notes to follow and give them a set of guidelines to watch for as their child improves with their health. They will be monitored by the parents at that point, and they will watch for the signs, symptoms, and report to their doctor. If anything worsens, gets better, anything like that. Lastly, the return to play guidelines. This is so important. Each player should start off with just light aerobics, just a walk, basically, just a walk on a treadmill or maybe a walk around the track. If no symptoms persist, they want to move on to increased intensity. That means maybe jogging, maybe doing a run, but not full pace, fast-paced walking, anything that increases the intensity. Again, if no symptoms show themselves, they're able to return to the team. They're able to run with the team, but they're not able to do anything else. No contact, that includes hitting pads. But again, no symptoms, we move on to participating in drills. We say drills, that means they can do what everybody else is doing, but they can't hit the pads. They can't hit another player. Matter of fact, they shouldn't even have their equipment on. This is usually a tough one because the kid feels like they're okay, but you really need to be strict at this point. After that, they can move to full contact practices. Practice like normal. They do everything everybody else is doing. They're hitting the practice dummies, they're hitting the shields, they're going after each other just like they normally would. At that point, if there are no symptoms at all, they return to full gameplay at that point. This list of guidelines is something that I found on the NCAA.org website. It is a very good list. It really goes into depth about it. It really gives good information on when a child should return to play, all the way from youth up through the pro level at that point. Concussions are serious business. We can't take them lightly. Once one has occurred, you can't just tell them, oh, does your head hurt? Oh, poor baby. Unfortunately, that happened to me. I remember it distinctly when I was a youth. I got hit in high school. I stood up. I had no idea what was going on. I went to the sidelines. The coach said to me, Jim, what's wrong? I said, my head hurts, blurred vision, things like that. The coach said, if you ever want to see the playing field again, you're going to get back out there. So I went out there and played because I didn't want to be on the sidelines. That's why we now have these guidelines in place that all organizations follow, and is ensuring that safety is of the utmost importance, and that we're teaching proper technique moving forward from the youth level all the way up to the pros, because in order for the pros to get better, You have to start at the youth level. You need a solid foundation to build a strong house.